There was a Reserve Bank of Australia meeting today, and you're going to hear a lot of talk about it in the news and from our politicians. And I just wanted to give you three unique perspectives on it, because the media doesn't really understand money, inflation and interest rates. And of course, we cannot trust the politicians to tell us the truth, nor can we trust the Reserve Bank of Australia board. So the first point I wanted to make, and this is from the RBA statement, is that they're saying underlying inflation is moderating. So just keep in mind, in a couple of years' time, in my view, inflation is going to pick back up, and we're going to see another massive wave of inflation, probably worse than 2022, over the next 3 to 5 years. So just keep in mind that these so-called experts told you in 2025 that inflation was under control, it was coming back to target, and they're cutting interest rates because, look at us, we've solved the inflation problem. So just remember in a couple of years' time that they said this. The second point I wanted to make, and keep in mind this is the RBA's carefully worded media statement, they're talking about how higher interest rates have worked to bring down inflation. And I agree with that, that's true. Higher interest rates do bring down inflation. So doesn't that mean that lowering interest rates creates inflation? You know, like through 2020, when the RBA lowered interest rates to 0.1% and they printed or invented $500 billion in their computer, which they flushed into the government debt markets, into the mortgage markets to prop up the real estate hyperbubble through the pandemic, they create the inflation. So right now we're having a conversation about cost of living crisis, and there's all these gurus online blaming greedy gas companies, blaming the supermarkets for price gouging you, when the RBA openly tells you for decades that their goal is to deliberately create inflation. And I'll show that in my third point. They create the inflation. And the third point I wanted to make about the Reserve Bank of Australia's statement, and of course they've been saying this for decades as well, they say it every statement, is that their goal is to return inflation to target. What is their target? Go to their website, they will tell you. Their target is to keep inflation between 2 to 3%. So what that means is that as much of as your cost of living has already gone up, if prices only go up 1.5% next year, the RBA sees that as a problem because inflation is below their target, and they will take deliberate policy action to try and make your cost of living go up faster, to make things more expensive. Why, in a cost of living crisis, would we want a government agency that operates above the democratic process, people you don't get to vote for? They deliberately create inflation. So start having a conversation about the Reserve Bank's role in creating inflation. They're telling you that they're deliberately going to get inflation back to target, which is 2 to 3%.